All right, so in this video, I'm really excited to show you guys how we can take these expressions and we can actually use DESMOS to find the answers. So we've spent a lot of time so far in the unit looking at how to plug things in and simplify using order of operations. And so for the first one here, when we see h minus g plus 2m, we have the value of the variables here, and we're going to be just plugging them in. Now, in the past, so far, what you've seen is actually this work being done. And the goal is to not have to show this work anymore, but rather learn how to use this tool over here, DESMOS. I'm going to have the link for you guys on Schoology, and you can either just use the link from Schoology or maybe bookmark the page if you want for DESMOS. But let me show you guys right here. I'm just going to keep them side by side. We're going to first simplify this one. So the idea here is that you can just type in h minus g plus 2m. So all I've done is use the keyboard and typed in exactly what I'm seeing over here on for number 1. Now when you hit enter, nothing has happened in the calculator yet. So you've simply told DESMOS what the expression is, but now you need to come through and tell it that h equals the 2.5. We need to tell it that g equals the 7.4. And just so y'all know, I'm getting this from right here in the notes packet. And then the last one was m equals 1.6. And you guys can see here, if the calculator knows the expression and knows which each letter should equal, it can actually simplify it. And right here, it tells you the answer. It's the negative 1.7. And you can see the answer matches what I have for my work over here. So in this video, the goal of the video is for me to actually show you guys all the different formatting. In your packet, you guys can see that for the first one, we had a coefficient next to the m. In number 2, we have absolute value symbols and an exponent. In number 3, we have c, just a variable only in the numerator, and then over 3. Whereas in number 4, we have an entire expression in the numerator, and then we have another expression down here in the denominator. So the goal is for me to kind of just walk you through these problems and show you how to plug it into DESMOS so that moving forward, you could either choose to show the work or to use DESMOS, and you'll have the option moving forward. A lot of students who use DESMOS sometimes make silly mistakes when entering in and not knowing how to format certain things. So again, let's just kind of talk about that. All right, so now I'm going to move on to the next problem. Now the next one involves absolute value, and on DESMOS, right here, there's the absolute value thing. And let me just make the calculator a little bit larger right now. This is what it's going to look like when you pull it open. I just actually have it minimized right now so that we can see back and forth between the two. So if we're trying to plug in an absolute value thing, I'm actually going to click this button right here, and I've opened up the line for absolute value. Now we have a d plus f. And if I click this again, see how it closed the absolute value for us? Now you're going to do minus, and then you're going to type in the letter j. And right here, when you click a squared, it'll tell j to be squared. So again, I'm going to clear it out just so you can watch that one more time. Click the absolute value, tell it d plus f. Click again to close it. And then you've got minus, and then type in the letter j. And right here, when you tell it to be squared, now you've got the expression plugged into DESMOS. Now we just need to hit enter. We're going to tell it here that d equals negative 8. We're going to tell it that the f equals 2. And we're going to tell it that j equals 5. And again, those values are given right next to the problem in your packet. And right there, if it has these 3 values, we can see that we should get a negative 19 for that one. And if I come back over here, we can see that if we actually took the time to show the work, we'd get the same answer, the negative 19. Now with this one, while I have the work up in front of y'all, I just want to show you real quick that the absolute value is a grouping symbol. So we always do what's inside the grouping symbol first. Negative 8 plus 2 puts me at negative 6. Careful with that, it's not negative 10. Now I want to know how far away is negative 6 from 0, and that's 6 spaces. Now over here, we're just going to subtract 5 squared, so subtract 25. And right here, if you do 6 minus the 25, that's how we got the negative 19. All right, now let's take a look at number 3. And for number 3, the thing is that the fraction is only for part of it, not the entire thing like it is in number 4. So for this one, what you want to do is you want to actually type C, and then you put this division symbol, and that makes a 3. Now you guys can't see me hitting this on my keyboard, but I'm just hitting the right arrow so that it goes next to the expression. Now I'm ready to type in minus a and then plus b. So again, a fraction is division. So from the beginning, I'm going to type in the c. Now you could use that question mark key on the keyboard that has that slash for the division. So you could do that or type it right here. And some of you might have noticed this a over b thing right here, and that will also create a fraction, c over 3. So it doesn't matter if you want to do c divide by 3 or hit the fraction button and do c over 3. Now just hit the right arrow to go next to it. And you don't want to be down here and keep typing. See what happens if you're down in the bottom and keep typing. So you don't want to be in the bottom and keep typing. Make sure you hit the side arrow, and then you go minus a and then plus b. Now we just need to tell it what a, b, and c equal. So we're told that a equals 2. We know b equals the negative 8. And again, that's always going to be given to you next to the problem. It'll tell you what it should equal. And right there, when we type in c equals negative 21, it looks like for the final answer here, we get a negative 17. So when you type in the expression and down below you tell it what it equals, all the variables equal, right here is where you're going to be looking for that final answer. So if we actually showed the work, you can see here, I get the same answer, same thing. When I plug in, I'm going to do this division thing here. I'm going to get a negative 7 from that. And then after that, I just copied everything else down. Now from left to right, I see negative 7 minus 2, which is negative 9. And then I just keep the plus negative 8. And now I'm ready to see if I've got 9 negatives plus 8 more negatives. That's going to be 17 negatives total. So make sure in your notes that you're writing the answers that we've been getting in DESMOS right here. And the good news is, take a look at this. See how if you don't close out, you can actually scroll back up. So like the first answer, you should have in a negative 1.7. The second one we did is a negative 19. The third one we just did was a negative 17. And now we're ready to do the last one, okay? Now for the last one, I'm going to have you go ahead and type or click the a over b button. And in the numerator, we want y plus z and then tell it to be squared. So all I did when I was up here is I just started typing y plus z and then I clicked the squared. Now click in down here, and for the denominator, now type in x minus 3. Now hit the right arrow to be next to it and you're done. Now we've got to tell it x equals negative 6. The z here was a 4. And just looking back over at the worksheet, the y is a negative 25. So when we do all of that, the answer would be a 1. The answer should be a 1. So let's make sure when we come over here that we get that. We do get a 1. And let's make sure you guys are okay with how this all got plugged in. So y was a negative 25 and then plus 4 squared. So in the numerator, 4 squared is 16. And now when I do negative 25 plus 16, I'm still in the negatives and I'm at negative 9. I want to remind you guys that you can use DESMOS or you can use, let me pull up my regular calculator. For the little math like that, like the negative 25 plus 16, you could do 25 that's negative plus 16. You always have that option. You could also use DESMOS to say, okay, if I'm in DESMOS, all I cared about was a negative 25 plus 16, and it does verify that it's a negative 9. Okay, so you can continue to use the calculator for each little individual operation, or you could use it for the whole entire thing. Now down here, if you have 6 negatives and 3 more negatives, you have 9 negatives. If you lost $6 and then you lose 3 more, you have lost 9. So we have a numerator and a denominator, and anything divided by itself, y'all, is always a 1. So we were expecting a 1, and we did get the 1. I'll remind you right there in DESMOS was 1. So in our current unit, we now have a tool that's really helpful to verify. And again, there's lots of different ways these problems can look. So I'm hoping that this video helped you guys see how to make like the whole top and the whole bottom versus like right here, just the top and bottom. And then you have some more to go. And now I actually want to kick it back to our previous unit. And I want to show you guys that you can actually use DESMOS for the consumer math that we've already talked about. Let's just reread this problem here, number 5. We have a pair of shoes costs $99.59. I want to know how much tax is owed if the sales tax rate is 5%. So the first thing that you guys have always done is find 5% of the cost. And so that's just $99.59 times 0.05. Now over here, if I type in 5 and then we click the percent, see how it automatically types in the word of? So you could find 5% of $99.59 using DESMOS. And right here, we would need to round that to 98 cents because of this 9. So DESMOS can actually find the percent for you. You could still just do 0.05 and then do times the 99.59. It's the same answer. I just wanted to point out that DESMOS, if you do 5%, it'll automatically type in the word of. So now let's just decide over here together, after we multiplied and found the 5%, do we need to stop or do we need to add the 498 to our answer? So if it asks how much tax is owed, we actually get to stop with our answer here. So after that, we stop. We do not need to add it in. If it had asked how much did you pay for the shoes, then you would circle this one and add it in. But we stopped, and so our final answer here is going to be $4.98. So once again, DESMOS can work in the consumer unit to find 5% of any number. You guys might remember back in that unit, like if you wanted to leave a server a 20% tip, and let's say the food costs $53, right there, again, it can calculate what that tip amount should be. And then if I asked you to tell me how much you would leave the restaurant total, it would be this, and you would pay the restaurant $63.60. So this problem right here was not in your notes. I just wanted to point out just another example of how you can multiply in the calculator in DESMOS. And sometimes it'll just do the 20% of for you, and you don't actually have to do 0.20 times the 53. So that's this video. Again, you're going to be looking for DESMOS linked on Schoology, and you will be able to have access to this calculator every day moving forward. I highly recommend that you do the work on paper like this always, and then use DESMOS to check and make sure that you are right. All right, and that concludes this video. Thank you.